Senator John McCain loves to gush about General David Petraeus as the man who salvaged Iraq and will salvage Afghanistan the same way, the exact same way. McCain may be right and righteous about his man crush on Petraeus, but Petraeus indicated yesterday at the Heritage Foundation that McCain might not be right about Afghanistan and the Iraq-style surge policy that McCain is advocating there.
Some of the concepts used in Iraq are transplantable. Others perhaps are not. And what you have to do in every case, the biggest lesson of counterinsurgency is that every situation is unique.
Sounds a little bit like Obama's stance more than McCain's, no? Petraeus also seems to side with Obama when it comes to speaking with America's adversaries, a position that McCain has attacked as naive and reckless.
I do think you have to talk to enemies. What we did do in Iraq, ultimately, was sit down with some of those that were shooting at us.
Petraeus' comments come as American intelligence agencies conclude that Afghanistan is in a, quote, downward spiral. The leaked portions of the next NIE cast serious doubt on the ability of the Afghan government to quash the Taliban's influence. Whoever becomes our 44th president, they're going to inherit this dire situation, which includes the as-yet fruitless hunt for Osama bin Laden. Senator McCain says he knows how to get bin Laden and promises he will with his secret plan that he won't share with anyone, including the current president, apparently, unless and until he himself is elected. Nice. But for all the bluster of America's politicians, bin Laden remains at large, presumably alive, probably in northwest Pakistan or Afghanistan. The closest U.S. forces got to public enemy number one was just weeks after the president's bin Laden dead or alive ultimatum. America's top secret Delta Force was dispatched to Tora Bora, a mountainous region in Afghanistan near the border of Pakistan. The CIA said it had hard intelligence that bin Laden was hiding out there in a cave complex. In the subsequent military operation, 40 or so Delta Force soldiers coordinated with CIA operatives, some Green Berets, British commandos, and Afghan fighters to stalk their target. According to a first-person account of a Delta Force leader in the new book, Kill Bin Laden, American soldiers were within 2,000 meters of Osama, only to pull back from an assault in favor of airstrikes. As the world knows now, the airstrikes did not get bin Laden. Earlier, I spoke with the officer who led the Army's Delta Force mission to kill bin Laden after 9/11, the man whose forces were within 2,000 meters of bin Laden before he escaped. We can't tell you his real name or show you his face, but his nom de plume is Dalton Fury, and he's the author of Kill Bin Laden, which is out this week. I started by asking him whether a ground assault on bin Laden would have had a better chance than airstrikes of actually getting him.
No, it wouldn't have had a better chance. To understand the geography we face in Tora Bora, at the center of the battlefield, you're looking at 10,000-foot peaks that are covered in about 3 or 4 feet of snow, and you're moving down roughly 6,000 feet down to 4,000 in the bottom of the valley. So a ground assault by a conventional unit wouldn't have got the job done.
We do think that we know what happened at Tora Bora. Americans broadly feel like we know what happened there. It's been fought over politically in the last 2 presidential campaigns. Do you think that Americans misunderstand what you did and what happened at Tora Bora?
I think they do. I think in the presidential run-up in 2004, the comments were made that the United States relied on Afghan proxies alone, utilizing American air power from above, and that's not the case. The administration committed, as you spoke earlier, roughly 40 American Delta Force operators, half a dozen Green Berets, and of course the CIA was there as well. So it wasn't just Afghanis moving up the hill, it was Americans having to conjure them up there and pay them off to move up there with a rifle.
Was the reliance on Afghan forces part of the problem, though?
I think in hindsight it clearly was in the Tora Bora area. We were very successful with that template on the western side of Afghanistan with the small special forces teams, the CIA and the Northern Alliance, but you have to realize they were fighting the Taliban. And Tora Bora, they were fighting Al-Qaeda, and there was Osama bin Laden up there, of course, the head. Bin Laden, very well known, a hero in the neighborhood, had paid off all the families in the area going back to the Soviet Jihad. So the only incentive they had to go up there and fight an Al-Qaeda fighter and bin Laden himself was money.
In the book, you write about how Delta Force was denied permission to attack bin Laden's cave, where you thought bin Laden was, essentially from the backside, coming over from Pakistan, over the summits of the mountains that you were in, rather than coming up from Afghanistan. A, do I understand that correctly? And B, do you know why that permission was denied or who denied it?
Well, A, you do understand that correctly. Our original plan that we submitted to our higher headquarters was to come in from the backside from Pakistan. Now, realizing that the mountains on the border are 14,000 feet covered in snow, but they're smaller passes, lower altitude that we could have got through. The idea was to come across 14,000-foot peaks. We believe bin Laden was roughly at 9,000 to 10,000 feet, coming behind him where he wouldn't expect it. That plan was denied at some level above us, and I was never given the reason why.
General Tommy Franks was essentially the war's operational commander at the time of this offensive, and he has said that he doesn't think that bin Laden was there at Tora Bora. Also, the man who was chairman of the Joint Chiefs at the time, General Richard Myers, says getting bin Laden was never a goal. He said, quote, the goal there was never after specific individuals. He said that just about 4 months after your operation there. It sounds to me like they're telling a very different story than you are. Do you think they're full of it?
Well, I'm not sure they're full of it, but I can tell you what my direct orders were. My direct orders were to kill or capture Osama bin Laden, point blank.
Do you think that General Frank should have been awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
Oh, I have no comment on that. I can tell you, though, that bin Laden certainly was there. I listened to him myself on the radio, and not just myself, but every Mujahideen that was on the battlefield that listened. The military analysts that were with us listened, that had been studying his voice for years, as well as a key figure in the CIA who had been listening to bin Laden for the last 6 years, stood next to me and confirmed it was bin Laden.
It's retired Delta Force Commander Dalton Fury, author of Kill Bin Laden. Thank you for your service to the country, and thanks for joining us tonight. Good luck to you.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me.